Welcome to class. ELS 322, Gender Studies. Today we want to look at Mariama's So Long a Letter. We are live on YouTube, so if you are unable to attend the class, you can join us on YouTube, or you want to listen to the class again, you can go to my YouTube channel, search for Ayoitan, and you'll see our classes. But remember to subscribe. So to the lesson, Mariama, So Long a Letter. First of all, let's look at some of the pieces of information we have on the author, Mariama. Mariama was born on the 17th of April, 1929. She lived until August 17, 1981. Mariama lived between 1929 and 1981. She was from Senegal. She was a writer and a feminist. She was a writer and a feminist. She was raised a Muslim. M-U-S-L-I-M. So that explains the Muslim background in the novel and how that plays into the feminist vision of the writer. I believe you read So Long a Letter. She wrote So Long a Letter in 1979. So Long a Letter was written in 1979. The work is described as a semi-autobiographical epistolary work. The novel is described as a semi-autobiographical epistolary work which captures the fates of African women in patriarchal Muslim African societies. So Long a Letter could be described as a semi-autobiographical epistolary novel which captures the fate of African women in patriarchal Muslim societies. The work is said to be epistolary if it is written in the letter format. The work is said to be epistolary if it is written in the letter format. So the title gives out the, the type of the novel, So Long and Later. So Long and Later is an epistolary novel, meaning that it is written in the form of a letter. The narrator, central character, the narrator, the heroine, addresses a letter to a friend in the US by name Aisha. Mariama Ba's parents were well-to-do and they were educated. Mariama Ba's parents were well-to-do and were educated. They were from the Lebu tribe. They were from the Lebu tribe. Her father was a career civil servant. He later became the first Minister of Health in 1956. The father was a career civil servant who later became the first Minister of Health in 1956 in Senegal. Mariama Ba was raised by her grandparents in the traditional culture after the demise of her mother. Mariama Ba was raised by her grandparents in the traditional culture after the demise of her mother. After the death of her mother. Mariama Ba also had a French colonial education. Also had a French colonial education. She also had a French colonial education and attended a Quranic school. She attended a Quranic school. So her education was education cut across traditional education, Western education, and Islamic education. She attended a Quranic school. She studied law. Attended a teacher training college. She studied law, attended a teacher training college. She was quite intelligent. And it is indicated in her winning the first prize in the entrance examination. Indicated in her winning the first prize in the entrance examination. She trained to be a teacher at the École Normale College. An elite school at the time. Mariama Ba was married 3 times and had 9 children. So that is why we say that the work is semi-autobiographical. But somehow we tend to see the writer's life being reflected in the writer's work. Sometimes. Yoruba was married 3 times and had 9 children. It is reported that her 3rd marriage was the longest. It's reported that her 3rd marriage was the longest. And the 3rd marriage was to one Obeyedio. Who was a member of parliament. So when you read So Long a Letter, you will come across Dauda Dieng. So I think Dauda Dieng is Obeyedio, right? Good. Member of parliament. Obeyedio was a member of parliament. It is not parliament, it is parliament. Okay? The pronunciation is different from the spelling. However, this marriage still ended in divorce. Mariama died in 1981 after a long illness. But she has left us some of our works to remember her by. Remember, if you can, you should write works of literature. Because if you're lucky, it might be your passport to immortality. So that long after you have departed the earth, people will remember you through your work, or you still live on through your work. If she didn't write so long a letter, maybe no one would have known her. So she left us so long a letter to remember her by. She also wrote Scarlet's Song. Scarlet's Song. Published in 1981, her second novel. The So Long a Letter is by far more popular. So Barr did not accept the label feminist. Mariama Barr did not accept the label feminist. Of course, most African feminists of their time refused to bear the tag because of the backlash, the misconception, the misperception that the tag feminists could bring to the women at the time. So they preferred to go by other tags. Some say they were feminists with a small f. Some found other ways to address themselves. So Barr did not accept the label feminist because it was loaded with Western values. There has always been the tendency for African women to define their feminism to be different from those advanced or espoused by Western feminist critics. because it's loaded with what? Western values. She did not also agree with the traditional Senegalese Muslim values for women, which were too oppressive. She did not also agree with the traditional Senegalese Muslim values for women, which she found to be too oppressive. She did not also agree with the traditional Senegalese Muslim values. She believed more in womanism. Of course, when we were studying Charles Nolan's essay, he classed her among the womanists. So she believed more in womanism, which advocates the survival of all people, both male and female, including children. Of course, she believed in womanism, which espoused the survival of all peoples, both males and females. Okay? In a mutually respectful relationship. So when you're reading So Long a Letter, you need to read along that line and see how much of a womanist she is, how successful she's been as a womanist, and where she has failed as a womanist. That's how you're going to read it now. So womanism is seen in Ramatulaye's character. Womanism is seen in Ramatulaye's character. Womanism is seen in Ramatulaye's character in So Long a Letter. So let us dive into the novel. So Long a Letter. The letter is addressed to Aishatu. By its author, I mean the writer of the letter, who is Ramatulaye. It happens that Aishatu and Ramatulaye are childhood friends who are now separated by time and marital circumstances. Because while Aishatu is now in the US, Ramatulaye writes from Senegal. In this letter, Ramatulaye recalls their friendship, which goes back to childhood. In this letter, Ramatulaye recalls her friendship with Aishatu, dating back to childhood. And this is seen in the following words. It is seen in the following words. We walked the same path from adolescence to maturity, where the past begets the present. We walked the same path from adolescence to maturity, where the past begets the present. Unquote. We walked the same path from adolescence to maturity, where the past begets the present. We walk to the same path from adolescence to maturity, where the past begets the present. So in these words, she is not only talking about their long-lasting friendship, she's also referring to how time influences human life. How the passage of time can bring changes to human life. She's also referring to history and the dynamics of history. Referring to history and the dynamics of history. In terms of how the past does not stay in the past, but has the power to determine the present. In terms of how the past does not belong to the past, but continues to affect the present and determine the present. So then the past shapes the future. In historical terms, the past shapes the future. It is revealed in the letter that Aisha too has just been divorced. Aisha too has just been divorced. It is revealed in the letter that Aisha too has just been divorced, and at the same time, Ramatullah has just lost her husband. So the two friends are caught in this web of tragedies at the same time. Aisha has just been divorced, and Ramatullah has just lost her husband by name Modufo. Her husband's name is Modufo. These two friends are connected by tragedies. One, the laws of marriage, and the other, the laws of a husband. Which appears to be the same thing, if you ask me. Okay? The death of Modufo was announced through a telephone call. According to the letter, the death of Modufo was announced through a telephone call. Which makes Ramatullah to rush to the hospital. Makes Ramatullah to rush to the hospital. It is at the hospital that she confirms the tragic news. It is at the hospital that she confirms the tragic news. And she does this in a very creative manner, worthy of being reported. A long corridor which seems to stretch out endlessly. At the end, a room. In the room, a bed. On the bed, Modu stretched out, cut off from the world of the living by a white sheet in which he is completely enveloped. So you could see the imagery and the power of description which the author deploys to make us appreciate the passing of Modupo, the death of Modupo. She meets the doctor. Amatula meets the doctor. Amatula meets the doctor by name Maudo. Maudo. Maudo Ba. Maudo Ba. Of course, later in the novel, we'll know that he is a friend of the deceased and the husband of Aristotle. But then let us not spoil the fun. Let's take it as we go. So Mado, the doctor, explains to Ramatulai how Madufo was brought in dead in the attempts to serve him that did not succeed. The doctor Madba explains to Aishatu how Madufo was brought in already dead and the unsuccessful attempts to revive him or to bring him back to life. Some of the dialogue in the novel are quite poetic. The dialogues in the novel are quite poetic. For instance, Madhuba says, joy's miracle of birth, dark miracle of death. Joy's miracle of birth, dark miracle of death. Between the two, a life, a destiny. So we are gradually told that the doctor is Modufo's childhood friend. And they're also married to childhood friends. Ladies who are childhood friends. Isn't that beautiful? It's important to note the power of description by the author, which shows that she's really good in writing, creative writing. For instance, she describes the skills of Madhuba, the doctor, does. Supple hands used in tracking down illness. Those hands, moved by friendship and rigorous science, could not save his friend. I'll just take that again, just for your listening pleasure. Okay? Supple hands used in tracking down illness. Those hands, moved by friendship and rigorous science, could not save his friend. Talking about the facticity of death. The fact that when it comes, it cannot be reversed. And in the second chapter, we are told of how people mourn the passing of Modufo. In African society, when someone passes away, they are mourning. In the second chapter, we are told of how people mourn for Modufo, the passing of Modufo. Modufo has fallen, and he's mourned. You know that in Muslim culture, they don't really keep people for long after they die, unlike in your beautiful culture. Where the dead person will be tortured and tortured for many months to prepare for a decent, befitting burial. So Modufo is to be buried the next day. Modufo is to be buried the next day, according to Islamic rites. Okay? So crowds gather from far and near for the funeral. Crowds gather from far and near for the funeral. Modufo is to be buried according to Islamic rites. Modufo is to be buried according to Islamic rites. So it is in the Muslim burial rites that the absurdity of human existence is really felt. Because after the man has suffered in the world to acquire so much wealth and fame, at death he is reduced to almost nothing. It's even better in our culture that some semblance of honor is made, elaborate ceremonies, expensive burial. Okay? At least to honor the dead. But Muslim culture is not like that. It's as if the man was just nothing. 7 meters of white muslin, the only clothing Islam allows for the dead. That's the absurdity of human existence. Just something to wrap around the person and then thrown into the earth. So it is a carefully orchestrated rite. It's highly structured. There are rules that govern it. It's highly structured, and there are rules that govern it. Of course, we'll get to know how the Muslim widow has to mourn the husband. Because in traditional African culture, even in West Africa, non-Muslim culture, there's also a specified way of how the widow is supposed to mourn the husband. Some of which are found to be quite oppressive, like the scraping of the hair. Okay? I don't know whether they're allowed to take baths. Okay? Okay, drinking of the husband's, the cup's water. Who does that? That's poison, right? No wonder if they die, they will say it was the wife that killed the man. All right? But that's poison. How can you do that? Okay. It's retrogressive and it's backward. And it's not done. So it is revealed that Modufo was a polygamist. It's revealed that Modufo was a polygamist. And we see that in the following expression. The presence of my co-wife beside me irritates me. Now, this statement is poetic because it has imports, right? Statements do have imports. When you are a poet or you are a literary critic, it signals Ramatulai's dislike for polygamy itself. Okay? It's a poetic way of signaling her dislike for polygamy. The fact that left for her, she would not have allowed her husband to marry another wife. The presence of my co-wife beside me irritates me. Perhaps all this while, the woman was not in the house with them. Because one thing you need to know about polygamy is that you can only practice it when you can afford it, right? Even in modern capitalist society, only men who can afford polygamy will practice it. And I think it is the capitalist culture that advocates, okay, how are we going to fund it? Okay, we have one house, one car, and you bring two wives into the same house, they're going to fight. One day you come and see two people wounded or even dead, or one of them is dead. Okay, so what happens is that those who can afford it, they tell this one, go and live in the other villa, and you live in this other villa. There's no problem. All right? Good. And I don't think even the woman will complain because at the end of the day, she has everything that she wants. So she can't complain. But if possibly she's the one providing for the house, and you people are jointly paying school fees, and then you still now want to bring another lady, I think she's going to insult you, because you can't afford it, right? So, that is the idea that's depicted in the novels. I think so far, this is the first time that the two women are really getting closer to each other. And that is because custom demands it at the point of mourning for the husband. Otherwise, they had their different palaces where they stay, okay, to avoid problems. And so that's why she's saying that her presence irritates her. Tradition demands that Ramatullah should stay with the co-wife for the mourning period. So otherwise, there's no way Ramatullah would have gone close to the lady. Binatu. The novel is set in Senegal. The place setting of the novel is Senegal. The partial setting of the novel is Senegal. How do we know that? How do we know that? We know that through this statement. I'm teaching you how to take information from literature. Critical information from literature. This is the moment dreaded by every Senegalese woman. The moment when she sacrifices her position as gifts to her family-in-law. This is the moment dreaded by every Senegalese woman. The moment when she sacrifices her possessions as gifts to her family-in-law. So she sees this practice as oppressive for the woman. She has married Model 4 for 32 years. 2 years and 5 years of marital life. 2 years and 5 years of marital life. So that could mean that could mean that could mean that she has given most of her life to this man who has not appreciated her. It could also mean that she has been on the earth for 32 years and has had 5 years of married life. Okay? 2 years and 5 years of married life. So the next day, Modufol is buried. The next day, Modufol is buried. And we know this by this statement: the men back from the cemetery files past. They have gone to bury him. After the burial, they sing the praises and offer prayers for Modufol. They call him the iron-hearted, champion of the oppressed. There are so many epithets that they use to describe him. Of course, when people die, they are praised, and their weaknesses are overlooked at that particular moment. We are also told that Modufol was a trade unionist. Modufol was a trade unionist. Trade unionist. Modufol was a trade unionist. We'll find out later how he betrayed the cause of the workers for his own selfish goal. Funeral rites are described in the novel as an opportunity to loot the house of the dead. Funeral rites are described in the novel as an opportunity to loot the house of the deceased, of the dead. In the midst of mourning, there are women who laugh and gossip, which is a form of carnival. Which is a form of carnival. In the midst of mourning, there are women who laugh and gossip. For me, this is a form of carnival, if you are looking at it from the perspective of Bakhtin. And this takes place in the midst of a serious ceremony to redeem the soul on day 3 of the funeral rites. The 3 of the funeral rites is to redeem the soul of the deceased. The currency depicted in the novel is the franc. The currency depicted in the novel is the franc. Of course, Senegal was colonized by the French, so that explains their use of the franc. The currency is franc, depicting the modern Muslim culture of giving money instead of material things at funeral. The culture of doling out money for funeral instead of giving money to save life is also hinted at. People will spend money during your funeral than give you the money to treat yourself. It is seen that funeral cost donations are carefully recorded as debts by family members to be repaid when those who gave the money also have similar circumstances. This is part of the culture. Funeral cost donations are recorded as debts to be repaid in similar circumstances. Ematulaya is a school teacher, and she has been married to Mutfo for 30 years. So we'll have to check those discrepancies in the information. Ramatullah is a school teacher, and she has been married to Mutfo for 30 years. So I think we should go with this for now. But we don't understand what it meant for some time, and then before they married, and so on and so forth. So she has been married to Mutfo for 30 years. Ramatullah receives more gifts than others, and this makes the mother-in-law, that's the other woman's, Binato's mother, to be jealous. She calls her Lady Mother-in-law. Lady Mother-in-law. Lady Mother-in-law. Calls her Lady Mother-in-law. £200,000 is contributed to the co-wife and Ramatullah by the in-law, but the money is mostly taken by the family in-law. Then the guests gradually leave. The idea that people come to the funeral to take whatever they can is seen in the old woman taking some quantity of rice home. So it does not only happen over here. And tells Ramatullah, lady, death is just as beautiful as life has been. We are told in the Quran that on the third day the dead body swells and fills its tomb. On the earth it bursts. On the 40th day it is stripped. That is the Islamic belief. The appears is on the 40th day that is the end of the mourning for the dead. So it's a long period of mourning. How long is it in your community? 1 week. It doesn't end the day they bury someone. I think it normally goes on and on. People usually visit, women will visit, and all of those things. The grave has to be how do you call it? Filled up again or something. You need to study this thing, right? So here it is 40 days. 40 days of oppressing the woman. She goes nowhere. She lives a certain lifestyle, secluded, doesn't move around until the end. We are told in the Quran that on the third day the dead body swells and fills his tomb. On the earth it bursts. On the 40th day it is stripped. If you read the novel, I should not be the one giving you all the details. Okay? You guys are grown now. So you don't need to be spoon-fed. So Binato is Ramatullahi's co-wife. Binato. She is Ramatullahi's co-wife. Binato is Ramatullahi's co-wife. At the end of the mourning period, the 40th day, she's going back to her house called the Sikap Villa. She's going back to her house called the Sikap Villa. But actually, that whether she's going, because a lot of things are going to happen. Sikap Villa. The author writes that child naming ceremonies may be missed, but never a funeral. So the tendency for Africans to celebrate the dead, it's alarming. And I believe that people should be celebrated when they are alive, not only when they're dead. The Muslim widow's rights is depicted thus. The Muslim widow's rights is depicted thus. Alone, I live in a monotony, broken only by purifying baths, the changing of my morning clothes every Monday. That's the ordeal that the woman has to go through. That's the ordeal that the woman has to go through in mourning the husband. Alone, secluded, the person lives alone all that period. I live in a monotony, broken only by purifying baths, the changing of my morning clothes every Monday and Friday. Say you are a prisoner, right? You have uniform that you wear. You change it twice a week. But listen to what Ramatullahi has to say. I hope to carry out my duties fully. My heart concurs with the demands of religion, reared from childhood under precepts. I expect not to fail. That takes our mind back to how she was raised by our grandparents in the traditional way of life. And that's why she's able to cope with the demands of the morning rites. That's why she accepts to go through the ordeal. All right? I hope to carry out my duties fully. My heart concurs with the demands of religion. Reared from childhood under precepts, I expect not to fail. So what people are raised with from childhood is what they accept most of the time in life. They hardly change it. Of course, most of you are Christians because right from childhood you were raised a Christian. There's nothing you can do about that. If you were raised a Muslim right from childhood, you would have been a Muslim. And if anybody comes to talk to you about Christianity, you take a stick and break the person's head. because Islam will be the best religion for you. All right? That's why John Darden said, by education, many have been misled, so they believe because they were bred. By education, many have been misled, so they believe because they were bred. That's from childhood. The rest that way. Cannot change it again in the adults. Rahmatullahi informs Aishatu of the family meeting held that morning, because all this is the letter addressed to her. We only get to read the letter to know what is going on. Okay? But the letter was not addressed to us. We need to stumble upon the letter. Or probably somebody made the letter public. In attendance at the meeting are Lady Mother-in-law, that's Binato's mother, who orchestrated the child's marriage, the poor child's marriage to the rich man Mudufo for our own benefits and change of social station. So you need to understand that sometimes mothers are selfish when it comes to the marriage of their children. They know what is good for the child, but because of their selfishness, they push the child towards a certain man for their own good. Okay? The child will say, Mom, I don't want that man. The man will say, it is that one that I want you to marry. It is for our own good, not for the child's good. Okay? And that's what Binato's mother did. And we call her Lady Mother-in-law. Good. So in the meeting, Lady Mother-in-law, her brother, her daughter Binatu, then we have Old Tamse, house spell. We have Old Tamse. That's Modu's brother. Otam says Modu's brother, Modu4's brother. Later, he will say he wants to marry Rahmatullahi. And the Imam from the mosque. And the Imam from the mosque represents the Muslim religion and culture. Then you also have Maudu Bar. Also have Maudu Bar, the friend to the museum. It's on the board. Rahmatullahi's daughter and her husband are also there. Rahmatullahi's daughter and husband are also there at the meeting. So it's a serious meeting. It's a serious meeting. Rahmatullahi informs Aishatu of the family meeting held that morning. In attendance are Lady Mother-in-law, her brother, her daughter Binatu, Old Tamse, Modufo's brother, the Imam from the mosque, Maduba, friend to Modufo, now dead. Then we also have Rahmatullahi's daughter and her husband. They are going to do the mirase. The mirase. They're going to do the mirase. You can write it in silence. Doesn't deserve so much explanation. It might not be English. That is the command by the Quran that the dead person be strict of all secrets. The command by Islam, by the Quran, that the dead person be strict of all secrets. And that is what the meeting is all about. Everything that was unknown about the deceased life is going to be revealed. And it is at this point that, for the first time, Ramatullah realizes the extent of Modufor's betrayal. Because of the secrets he kept from her. It is there that Ramatullah realizes the betrayal by Modufor by abandoning her and her children. That is after the marriage to the younger wife, Binato. So the man's life is revealed to us now. The mourning is over, the pressing is over, the prayers are over. It's now time for realities. The uncomfortable truths for the life of the man who is gone. Modufor was a worker in the Ministry of Public Works. Modufor was a worker in the Ministry of Public Works. He was promoted to the rank of technical advisor in exchange for checking the trade union's revolt. So he started by betraying even the people who looked up to him at the workplace. He was supposed to fight for their rights, but he used his position to get promotion for himself and abandon the rights of the workers. So Modufor is treated as both a failure in public life and a failure in private life. That means that he was not who he presented himself to be all through life. He was a traitor at the office, he was a traitor, betrayer at home. Because he traded the rights of the workers for his own promotion. And people still do it till today. For his own personal interest, the rights of the workers are abandoned. Because he got promotion to technical advisor in exchange for ensuring that the union will not revolt. He checked the union revolt. We are told that Modufor died without savings. He died without having savings. Yet he was a rich man. It's all for sure because he was heavily into debt. Modufor died without savings and was heavily into debt. He was heavily into debts. From the money he borrowed to fund his insane marriage to Benetton. Or to fund the whims and caprices of lady mother-in-law. He owed debts in car purchase in installments. He owed debts in clothes and gold purchases. He owed butchers and home delivery services. Home delivery goods, grocers, that's things to eat. Okay? He owed debts in car purchase installments. He owed debts in cloth and gold purchase. He owed debts in butchers as to buy meat and other things that are delivered to the house as food. He took a bank loan to build a Sikap villa for his new wife, Binatu, and the lady mother-in-law, to change their status from poor, wretched people to rich and high-class people, simply because they are married to a rich man. So he went into debt to fund the greed of the mother-in-law and the new wife. He took a bank loan to build a Sikap villa for his new wife, Binatu, and the lady mother-in-law. Mudu 4 has another villa by name Villa Baleine. Another house by name Villa Baleine. Where Ramatullah is staying as at the moment. The interesting thing is that Modifo used the Villa Baleine as collateral to take the loan to build the other house for Binatu. Use this other house as collateral without Ramatullah's knowledge. And we are told that this Villa Baleine was acquired through joint savings, even though it bears the name of Modufo. I mean, the wife and the husband contributed to build the house. The house bears the name of the man, and the man has used the house as collateral to take money and build the other house for the new wife. So the betrayal is deep and painful to Ramatullah from our perspective. So Modufo's loan repayment was at 75,000 francs monthly, and it was meant to go on for 10 years before the house could become his. Modufo's loan repayment was at 75,000 francs per month, and this was to go on for 10 years before the house could become his. So what we notice is that finance and property holding are actually some of the major problems that marriages have, as it is revealed in this work. Either the wife keeps her money and is building house somewhere without the husband knowing, okay? Building for the family of the brother, while the man suffers and pays for everything. Or this case that Ramatullah is reporting happens, okay? Where the husband claims what they both did are jointly acquired with the wife. So either way, there's always trouble in the land, okay? Money, it's always the issue. Money and who owns the car, who owns the house, it's always a major problem, okay? Model 4, we are revealing the secrets, right? The secrets are coming. Model 4 used his position to borrow 4 million francs to fund the Mecca pilgrimage trip of Lady Mother-in-law and her husband in order to acquire the title of Alaja and Alaji. So see the greed. Model 4 used his position his highly placed position at work to borrow 4 million francs to fund the pilgrimage to Mecca for lady mother-in-law, that means the mother of Binatu, the younger wife, and the husband, so that they will acquire the title of what? Alaja and Alaji. Okay? Because that will push them to the next higher class in society. Knowing that it's something prestigious to be an Alaja and Alaji in Muslim society. You belong to a class of your own. That's of big men. Right? Good. Big men and big women. Right? I think you have one shining tip or one shining tooth. Right? To show for it. Right. At a point, Model 4 stops operating the joint savings account that she had with Ramatullah. The point he stops operating the joint savings account. That means all his attention now is turned to the new and younger wife. Attention is now turned to the new and younger wife. Model 4 withdraws Binatu from school and pays her 50,000 francs monthly salary. As I saying, don't go to school. I don't want any other person to see you, right? Because that school is dangerous. That school is a dangerous place, all right? You might not be safe there from the prying eyes of other men. So stay home. And for your sacrifice, I'm going to pay you salary, as if you have graduated, you're working, right? 50,000 every month. Don't go to school again, right? Number 4 withdraws Binatu from school. Of course, as Ramatullah says it, Binatu was an intelligent student, her daughter's classmate, okay? But because of the need to control, okay, from the man, because of his insecurity, for instance, I asked her to stay away from school and become a permanent housewife. Okay? For the sum of 50K every month. Right? Good. So Model 4 signed an agreement to continue to pay this 50K to Binatu for life. So it's not as if the man would have died in debt, but you could see where his money is going to, right? So we are introduced to Daba, Ramatullah's daughter. Let me spell. Daba. Ramatullah's daughter. She has already strategized with her husband to take over the Sikap villa. By paying off the rest of the mortgage on the property. After all, lady mother-in-law does not have her own money. And neither does Binatu can afford it. So they already strategized, knowing what the father did to the mother while he was alive. They already strategized on how to take back or pay him back. So that's what is happening in the novel. You need to read this novel. So she has a list of all the items in the Villa Sikap. And we are going to be told how they claimed the property and leave Lady Mother-in-law and Binetou in the cold. We're also told that Ramatullah has a newborn baby that now has no father, no sooner born than orphaned. I like the way she uses language. She's a great writer. You must admit that. Okay? She's a great writer. No sooner born than orphaned. No sooner born than orphaned. Okay? The child is no sooner born than orphaned. And Ramatullah says that he loved Modufo and gave him 30 years of his life. So that means the marriage was for 30 years. We try to unravel the other, what she meant by that first statement in subsequent class. And so let us bring the class to a close at this point. Let me say good morning.